So, growing up as a child, 9 years old, my mother took me to the doctor. We did some MRIs and some other scans. They said, look, your diagnosis is ADHD. Sound familiar? Have you been diagnosed with it in childhood or as an adult? What this brought to the table was how we can start to change the behaviors that my mom was seeing because she was concerned. I would be too. I would go into elementary school, stand on top of my desk, start telling jokes, be the class clown. If I could not handle the topics that were being taught, I would crawl under my table, just doing anything I could to distract the entire class, because if I couldn't keep up, nobody else should be able to keep up. That's not what I thought, but that's instinctually what I did to protect myself. But what I had was ADHD. I had a hard time focusing. Whenever I have an interesting idea, I'm instantly distracted and diverted to that one until the next one pops up. My behaviors are impulsive and different things like that. And I say are, but I can also say it was, or they were impulsive, because I've learned how to take ADHD and turn it into a superpower. And I'm going to give you just 3 tips on how you can do the exact same thing. How I first discovered that my ADHD was actually a superpower that just needed to be trained properly. My mother, from the beginning, tried the classical route. I was prescribed prescription meds, one after the other, as we kept trying these different pills to get the ADHD under control. I felt like an emotional robot when I would take those prescriptions. I'm not saying that it's wrong for everybody. It just wasn't working for me. As a child, I instinctually knew that because I stopped dreaming. I wasn't hungry anymore. I was always laser focused on stuff, and when other kids were laughing and playing and having time with each other, I'd literally sit at my desk and just stare at a book instead of going and enjoying life and being outgoing like I normally was. I knew something was off, so I did something that, probably wasn't right, but as a child, I made my decision. I stopped taking the pills. I would be given the pills, but I would flush them, or I would act like I took them and spit them out. My mother found out 2 months later, and we made the decision together that we were going to tackle this differently. And it was a long and hard path, but what I would do is every night we would sit down at that wooden dining room table. I'd be tired from school and everything, she'd be tired from work, but we would open up books, classical books like Shakespeare, Tom Sawyer, Little Women, all of those older English books. She had the literal, first edition copies where there is no understanding that without a dictionary or thesaurus nearby. Every night we go through chapter by chapter, and she would have me read it out loud and tell her what certain words mean. No matter how much I protested, my ADHD would flare up and I would want to run off and nope. She kept me there in front of that and kept expanding on my English, expanding on my comprehension, but more importantly, teaching me how to focus. She taught me how to use some discipline to get that ADHD to focus on one thing and take all that powerful energy, put it in one direction. So she expanded as we went. As we stopped going through the books and started expanding on those advanced topics, the very next thing we did was start looking at old English TV shows and looking at actual Shakespearean plays and different things on the weekend. We would literally grab the popcorn, hop on the couch, and watch all these shows. I didn't know what was going on, but she knew. She was helping me to develop skills. Long story short, by the time I hit high school, I was very accomplished at reading and speaking. My grades, they weren't the best because I didn't really care about school, but my intelligence level was genius. I could figure out anything I needed to figure out if I just had enough interest in it. I didn't realize that interest was the key to unlocking this until later in my adult life. But because of that, I was able to start a very successful IT career straight out of high school, joined the Army, did IT there, and then got into a government agency and became the youngest executive ever in that agency. It was all part of the work that my mother put in on me at that dining room table. She took that ADHD, had me sit down and master how to focus it. Now, you don't have to go through all that to start taking your ADHD to the next level and getting some focus and getting some energy put in one direction. I'm gonna give you 3 steps on how you can develop it. The first thing that you want to actually do is meditate. Meditation is extremely powerful because we always do the opposite of that. We look for every single distraction we can, and for someone with ADHD, that's even doubly so. You have your social media, you have people texting you, you have email, you have news, you have TV, you have everything vying for your attention, because attention right now is currency. And if anybody can keep your attention long enough, they can make money. So that's the driving force behind why everything's making your ADHD worse, because they're designing it to capture you and distract you. You have to learn to eliminate those distractions, and you can do it for just 5 minutes a day for starters. All you need to do is set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes and just sit there with your thoughts. Let them run wild in the beginning. And then as you start to progress in these 5 minutes and you get a little bit more comfortable, because it will be insanely uncomfortable in the beginning, then you start learning to control those thoughts. Start getting yourself to focus on one thing, and you can start with your body. Focus on your feet. Focus on yourself sitting on the surface. Focus on how it feels to breathe in and out. Some aspect of your bodily function or how your body feels, focus on that for 5 minutes. And what you'll notice is, by proxy, you focusing on your body, your thoughts quiet down. Your raging thoughts all calm down, and they're all pointed at whatever you're focused on. That's the beginning of taking this and turning it into a superpower. The second thing that you can do that might be something to implement into your day is find a way to get some energy out. ADHD is a surplus of energy paired with distraction. You're easily distracted, plus you have high energy. So when something grabs your attention, you're already gone and on that. There's no reining it back in. So if you pick times throughout the day to do something to get that energy out, whether you get a little jump rope and jump around, or you have a little trampoline like I do in my office, I'll probably put a video of it up here somewhere, you can use that to get your energy out, and you actually feel invigorated and ready to focus. You get into what I call a peak state. We'll talk about that on another video. The last thing that you can try to do that will help you to take your ADHD and turn it into a superpower is just simply journaling. You pick a certain time throughout the day and you journal. You write out all of your thoughts. And when you're writing out your thoughts, there are no good or bad thoughts. Do not judge it at all. Write whatever comes to mind. You have 70,000 thoughts flowing through your head every day, and they don't go away. They only go away if you write them down. It's been proven by science that if you write down your thoughts, 80% of the time they don't come back. How powerful is that? So the more you sit down each day and write, the more quiet and calm your mind becomes. And you start to be able to take that ADHD energy, and like a wild horse, you pick a direction, you go. Some of the highest level CEOs and entrepreneurs are diagnosed with ADHD, or undiagnosed but have all the symptoms, and they are successful. So you have no reason to not be successful as well. They just know some things that you don't, and I just taught you 3 of those tips right now on this post. Now I want you to understand that as a heart-centered person like you are, that ADHD is not something that you are worried about just for yourself. You're concerned about how it always affects your relationships, how it always leads to you having fights, or how it always leads to you getting in trouble, or leads to you getting addicted. Understand that learning how to harness this and turn this into a superpower will help with those other things as well. As a calmer, less distracted person, when you're talking to somebody who says you always not paying attention or not listening, you'll actually be able to be in the conversation and listen from now on. I'm saying that because my wife always tells me I don't listen, but that's the key to it right there. If you felt like these tips are helpful and resonate with you, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell,